Plaintiff James Glenn says he's known the defendant for a long time, and he even worked for James for a period of time. James claims he bailed the defendant out of jail after he got arrested for assaulting a store clerk who refused to sell him alcohol, but he has yet to be repaid. Defendant Edwin Howard says he's known James for 25 years, and as long as he's known him, James has been immature and vindictive. In fact, Edwin claims James once told his girlfriend of 3 years that Edwin was cheating on her, so she broke up with him. Edwin's countersuing his former friend today for breach of contract.
Let me hear your side.
Okay, well, I've known Mr. Howard for over 20 years, and when I first met him in Palm Springs, California, and at the time he was running a pool concession business, and over the past 20 years, we both worked for each other off and on in one capacity or the other. By 1990, I think 2 or 3, I decided to move to Missouri, and that didn't last too long. I got a job in Chicago selling educational materials. And about 1996 or so, Mr. Howard had contacted me via letters stating that he was in jail. I guess it was for assault of some kind, and that he would be moving back to Kenosha, Wisconsin, which is about an hour from us. And so I said, great, maybe we can hook up and be friends again. And in 1996, right before May 1st, his wife, which is here now at the time, his wife, Carla, called me and stated that Mr. Howard was in jail again. And I said, well, what for now? What's going on now? And she said, well, basically, he had been trying to buy alcohol after hours, and the liquor store attendant, I guess it was, I don't know, some liquor store, but the guy said, no, can't sell you any beer, and they proceeded to get in an argument and wound up getting in a fist fight, and he landed in jail. So he told her to call me to see if I could bail him out. And from what I understand, his mom was supposed to be sending the money, but I said, no problem, I'll get him out of jail.
How much did you pay?
$2,000.
And he agreed to repay?
Yeah.
All right, let me hear from him before we get to the breach that you're alleging. Sir?
First of all, the jail thing was 2006, not 1996. I'd like to go all the way back to the beginning. Mr. Glenn I've known for about 25 years, and I've always found him to be kind of immature and vindictive. A lot of stories and so forth. For example, Your Honor, I was with a girlfriend out in California for about 3 years. He and I went to a nightclub one night. He got a little out of line, so I kind of left him there, but it was at a Marriott, the nightclub in a Marriott. There was 6 taxis in the taxi stand when I left there, so it was plenty of rides home. So he called my girlfriend and convinced her that I was cheating on her, and basically broke up a 3-year relationship. Then when I came
But
to...
he was married at the time, by the way.
Oh. He came to...
Mention that part.
Actually, I was divorced, Your Honor. Which leads us to where we are today. I went into a White Hen, not a liquor store.
A what?
A White Hen, a convenience store.
It's like 7-Eleven.
White Hen?
Yeah, they call it
They
White
don't
Hen.
let black people in there?
Anyway, I went in to purchase beer. It was about 12:20, Your Honor, and the clerk said to me after I brought the beer to the counter that I wasn't allowed to purchase beer after midnight. So I kind of being a smart aleck, I joking around with the guy, I said to him, well, you should have locked the cooler, dummy. And he became very irritated, came around the counter, threw me out of the store, beat me up in front of the store, and this was all caught on videotape, which led to the dismissal of the case in the long run.
Okay. All right. Tell me about why you believe he's breached. He has not paid you anything on the bail money?
Nothing, sir. Basically what happened is the day I bailed him out, I took him to the liquor store and said, all right, dude, we're out, let's party. So I bought him a big old bottle of Heineken, and we proceeded to basically drink for the rest of the day. And that night we all got drunk. He said, well, why don't I just work the money off for you? And I said, well, we had talked about the retaining wall, what else or whatever. And he's like, well, maybe, we could do the driveway or whatever. So he came back doing some measurements and said, all right, well, and by this time it was like 11 or 12 o'clock at night, and we were pretty toasted already. And so I was like, all right, well, yeah, I guess you could probably work it off. He did say, okay, well, I guess it's cool. I'll just
Did you all ever have a written agreement?
I don't know if he got one or not. He says he has a written. I don't really
know whether you
remember.
signed something or not, sir.
I really don't remember, actually.
All right, let me hear your side, sir.
That afternoon, while it was still light, I took measurements, drew up a contract. Obviously...
He signed it? Let me
yes,
see.
sir. Obviously, I was writing very legibly. He was signing very legibly, so everybody was pretty sober, actually.
Okay, sir, he does provide me with a contract that purports to have your signature.
Then, Your Honor, this actually led to an assault out on the road. We were driving and arguing about this. He decided to stop at the light, reach over, and try to choke me. I got out, I called the police, and I did a police report, but I didn't press charges.
You want to respond to that?
Basically, that was after he moved into my garage. He was camping out with a couple of homeless people at a house that I had purchased. And at the time, he had asked me to do him a favor. And I said, well, you know, we started talking about this money. We did get in an argument. And at that point, he opened up a beer, threw it into my car. Beer went all over me and all over my truck. And basically, then he called the cop and said, I know a guy that's driving DUI. So when I got home, he basically had a cop waiting for me there. The cop did the full sobriety test. I came out clean, hadn't been drinking, and that was.
Let's go back to him being homeless, because that's a word.
Yeah.
You snitched the man out, and he homeless because you.
No, he snitched me out.
You snitched him out on his woman.
Oh, dude, I don't remember him ever.
You admitted it. I did it because he was already married.
At the time, he was like one of the biggest dogs in town, cheating on every one of his girlfriends at the time, including his wife. So yeah, I was pissed off, and I was like, hey, you know, basically that's what happened with that. But as far as this other gig, what happened was, the contract. I never got a copy of this. I have never ever received this. I've never seen it. I've never ever actually looked at it.
Doesn't sound like you stay sober long enough. Sir, your counterclaim $4,110 for breach of that contract.
Yes, sir. I'm suing for the balance of the contract.
How has he breached the contract regarding the repair?
Well, first of all, Your Honor, if you'll notice, the down payment is just over $4,000. I received a $2,140 down payment. Basically, I credited towards that because of the money that I would have owed him.
2/3 down, 1/3 upon completion.
Exactly.
Okay. Sir, what do you say about that?
I say, first of all, I have text messages from a phone that I have stating that I tried relentlessly to try to get a hold of this man. I did call him the very next day. I have a text message from him a week later stating that my son is in the hospital now. My best friend's dad died, and I can't get to this. And I was texting him saying, when are you going to start this wall? When are you going to start on the work? Because the very next day I called him. I couldn't get a hold of him. I left him a message.
You have any of those texts with you today?
I do.
That's not true. They never finished the down payment part of the contract here.
I still have no paperwork for deposit of funds received, and I'm willing to let you do work for the money deposited. Defendant. Justin in the hospital. Robin Rita's dad died. Chip flying in. Cops harassing. About 5 excuses, huh?
That's just stating that I tried to get a hold of him and he was making excuses as to why he couldn't even start the job. And as a matter of fact, within the next 4 months, he never finished the wall. I have pictures of the wall. I have receipts of help that I had to do.
Sir, this does indicate that you gave him 3 excuses in this one text.
Absolutely, but this was much later, Your Honor.
And what were you all discussing in this text of 2009?
Well, we had been discussing this quite a bit over a period of time.
Okay, so you were still discussing the same thing?
In that period of time,
so even as of 3 years later, you still were giving him excuses?
I wasn't allowed to start the job, Your Honor. This was to start right away.
You're giving him 5 excuses on this.
On answering, not on the job.
On dealing with the job.
No, on dealing with him. Because he never paid the down payment, Your Honor. There's a $4,000 down payment. I can't start a job without the down payment.
That's all right. I got him on something else.
What else you have, sir?
Well, according to state law in Illinois, you are supposed to supply any person that you're going to be doing work for a copy of basically your consumer rights, which is right here. He never gave me this pamphlet, and he's supposed to actually keep a copy of this to prove it. But in this, it states that we have 3 business days from the time that the contract is written to cancel the contract.
Right.
And also, starting and estimated completion dates. Is there anything on that contract about starting and completion dates? No, there isn't, probably. Also, if the contract fails to commence or complete work within the contracted time period, the homeowner may cancel and may be entitled to a refund of any down payment or other payments made towards the work upon written demand by certified mail. Now you're on
to something. 3 years later, it is an unreasonable amount of time. Absolutely.
Did you know that one, Mr. Howard, Mr. Construction Pro? And this is his business card showing that he was living at a motel, Super 8, by the way, at the time, which he got kicked out of, and that's when he was staying in my garage with his 2 homeless buddies.
That's not true at all, Your Honor. I had an
Sleeping on the
office.
floor, washing his dishes with my hose, and barbecuing on a grill in my backyard.
None of this is true, Your Honor.
Oh, none of it.
I had
Really?
an office in a hotel.
sorry.
I had a residence.
Sir, I'm going to go with the text, which demonstrates that you were unavailable and giving him excuses as of 3 years later. The contract is unenforceable because it was an unreasonable amount of time. I'll grant your judgment because any work that was supposed to have been offset by this loan did not occur. $1,300 for the plaintiff. Your claim is dismissed and the contract is nullified. Have a good day.
Thank you, Your Honor.